Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning,
Hope all is
everybody.
well.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
We made it.
We made it a whole week.
Yeah.
And we are here to celebrate that. Today,
4th of July weekend's coming up.
we're one day away. It's 4th
day.
of July Eve.
Yes.
So much going on in preparation
Are you ready? That's the question. Are you ready for your 4th of July celebration? You know, I heard that most of the 4th of July shows, fireworks, are being shut down. So people are running out to go get their fireworks. Do you have your fireworks? Do you have your barbecue? Do you have somebody to spend this wonderful holiday with? I hope you do.
You know, 4th of July here in Atlanta for the last like 4 or 5 years has been rained out. We've had torrential rainstorms and we haven't been able to enjoy it. And now that we got Corona all over the planet, I don't know if it's going to be any huge festivities. So we have to do something local.
I feel like we missed the ball. I think we should have done like the smart folks and went and got us a trailer full of explosives to sell, because we would have made a mint this year because of that. And that, you know, people are, let me just say this, people are making a lot of money off of Corona. Hassani and I got coffee the other day at the drive-thru. We saw a man with a sequins blue mask on. It was fabulous. And I said, excuse me, where'd you get that mask from? And he had all the information. I think it was Giovanni or something, some designer, not Giovanni, the famous guy, but whoever it was, selling masks and partnering with people to create fantastic masks. This man told me that he has masks that cost $250.
I was like,
I said, did your mask cost $250? He said, no, my mask just cost like $30. He said his mask cost $40, but it was on sale for $20. A mask?
Yes.
And you know what? He was breathing too easy. So I know it really wasn't filtering any germs out. So we need to get a message. That's a message all in and of itself. How can we, you know, maximize all the opportunities during the COVID?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, listen, today's Friday, and what we're going to do is Friday is designed to really be an advice day. Yeah. If there are questions that you have, something on your heart and your mind that you want an answer to, all you need to do is post your question here. We will read it. We will address it, because there's a lot going on in your world. There's a lot of questions that you have. Maybe some of you want counseling, but your spouse is not there yet, but you're looking for help in some way. We want to use this opportunity to speak into your life. So if you're watching, and we see people are watching from different parts of the world, drop your question in there, whatever it may be. We want to answer it.
And you know, look, this is the thing, because we're on the cusp of the holidays tomorrow. Hassani and I realized that there's always a lot of stress and pressure between relationships, especially if it's already tense in the first place. But when you have a holiday coming and maybe you have a few family members coming around, in-laws and things like that, it can become frustrating. We realize that. Sometimes. Good morning. Hey, how are you?
Good morning. The Hayes is in the house. Good to see you.
Sometimes, you know, we gotta talk these things out. We have to set some boundaries at the very beginning of the event to avoid these uncomfortable experiences with our family, with our in-laws, right? So that, you know, if you have questions about how are you going to get through the 4th of July, you know, how do I deal with my in-laws who are coming and they do not respect my boundaries? They do not respect how I want to raise my children. How do we deal with how our spouses behave when others are around? They're going to embarrass me. They're going to fall asleep during the festivities. Let's get your questions. We are here to answer.
Sharonda.
Good morning, Sharonda.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know, in terms of dealing with family, because when you think about the 5 stressors that couples experience, you have communication, sex, money, parenting with your children, and then in-laws. And so when you have all these different families, different family cultures coming together, it can be a problem.
Yes.
You have to breathe, you have to woosah, and you have to realize, listen, it's only a day.
Let's talk it out. Let's just have a conversation about it. You know, I think we're caught up in avoidance. We're always avoiding the hard conversations. And so then when you get there and when you're in the moment, you can't talk about it because you've avoided it. It's too late. But what about just today? Today's a good day to sit down with your partner and deal with some issues that you know are the common issues. Every time family comes around, you know these things are going to raise their ugly head. This is the time to talk about it before, not during.
Right. And you want to be on one accord, because there's nothing worse than other people observing the division that exists between you and your
they can
spouse,
see it
because they can see it from
whether
a mile
you
away.
think you hiding it or
You
not.
cannot hide it. So if you think, you know what, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, I'm going to be silent, I'm going to be all up on my feelings, I'm not going to say nothing, I'm going to do nothing. Now you have an energy that is being released into the atmosphere that everyone can sense, and nobody knows how to respond. And so it's better that you just have a conversation. Listen, even people who are in war, like when you think about the Middle East crisis, how Israel is always at war with their neighboring country, Palestine, there are times when they have peace treaties. Listen, for the next 72 hours, we're going to take a break. We're going to pause. We're not going to engage. And then we'll pick up 72 hours later. So in essence, even they know in the articles of war what to do. We should do the same thing in our relationship. Dave, good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. But if there are any questions, drop them in here. This is what Friday is reserved for. We want to hear from you. But if no questions, listen, one of the questions that we hear people say all the time is, how can I communicate more effectively in my relationship? It seems like that's a big struggle for couples. And the reality is men and women are just different. But beyond the basic differences of male-female conversation, think about it like this. If I, as a man, were talking to you as a woman, my conversation with you may go better than your conversation with your husband. If Danielle, as a woman, talks to you as a man, that conversation may go a little bit better than your conversation with your wife. Why? Because in this relationship, we're listening with emotional ears. There's a whole lot of built up, unresolved issues that may exist, a lot of noise. And so a lot of times when we communicate, not us specifically, but when couples communicate, there's so much misinterpretation, faulty assumptions, hurt and pain. We're looking through the lenses of our pain, which makes the conversation challenging, on top of the complexities of how men and women communicate. And so it's important to realize that if you have underlying issues that have not been addressed and resolved, communication will always be an issue.
I also think partly there's just a lack of acknowledgement. You know, there are many instances where we're not missing it. We're actually seeing it. We're hearing your tone. We're seeing your body language. We've been with you long enough to know that when you raise your voice to this tone, or when you talk to me like this, you're being cynical, you're having an attitude. And then when you get called on it, you refuse to acknowledge it. So one thing that we have learned, and we're still working on it. I shouldn't have said we have learned. One thing that we are doing is we are giving each other the freedom to point it out, and giving each other the time to dial back and dial down, right? So I'll give you an example. Just the other day, I forget what we were talking about, but it was some misunderstanding about what I wanted you to do versus what you thought I was going to do. And I'm talking to him, and my levels are just rising. I'm so frustrated. I'm getting aggravated, and I'm telling him what I want him to know, and he is not receiving what I have to say. He's blocking everything left and right. He has all these excuses as to why he's not doing this. And I said, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. And he's like, well, maybe it's the way you're saying what you're saying. I'm like, well, how am I saying it? I'm just telling you. Well, it's the way you're all aggressive, you're mad, you're yelling. And so I had to own that. I had to say, okay, he's right. I can't deny that I'm yelling. I hear myself. And I think that is what we don't do. We don't pause and dial back and acknowledge what we're doing to contribute to the problem. Because at the end of the day, I just wanted to be heard, right? I didn't want to be yelling. That wasn't my goal. I just wanted to be heard. And by dialing back in that moment, right, we were still a little annoyed and frustrated because we had the heat still. But in that moment, we dialed back and we were able to communicate and understand each other. I think that would resolve a lot of problems with communication. When people just acknowledge, okay, I done stepped out of line here. This is not what we agreed to. Let me get back in line so that the communication can continue.
Because if you cannot tone down, it will cause your partner to tune out. And a lot of times we aren't necessarily angry and mad, but we speak with so much passion because we want our message to get across. But it can be off-putting to our partner. And so you have to learn how to articulate it in a way that it can be received. It's just like, listen, I'm not the best cook. Everybody knows that. Danielle's made it perfectly clear to the world.
But you're getting better.
I'm getting better.
He makes the best pancakes.
I make some good pancakes.
Hey, Elise.
But here's the deal. I can make a meal, but if she doesn't like it, If it's not edible, if it doesn't taste good, she's not going to eat it. She's going to reject it.
Why would I?
Likewise, our communication has to be seasoned in such a way for it to be digestible to our spouse. Elise, good morning from Saibo, Japan. Love your work and guidance.
Wow.
Japan.
Wow.
She's from Japan.
All right.
Good to see you. Glad to have you on this morning. Let's see what this has to say. Darlene, married 37 years. How can you make memories better when you know that during these times there was infidelity? How do you recreate a better memory when you go to these places and you remember how you were treated by your spouse?
That's powerful. We actually had one of our clients do something that was powerful, where one of the places that they went was a triggering place. It was where something very hurtful happened, but they went there with lots of prayer, right? And with a new intention. And the person that had done the hurting, who had done the offending, went the extra mile to make sure that person was feeling safe and accommodating and was meeting all their needs. So I think that at the end of the day, it's really about creating new memories. It's about creating new memories.
New memories.
And I think that if there's a place or a situation in your life that is triggering to the point of major distress, it may not be the place to go to right away without some work and some therapy. But if there's a place that you go every year, maybe it's a family reunion, and you know that there's some very hurtful things going on, you can go ahead of that. You can get ahead of that issue with making sure that your partner knows where you are, making sure that you're communicating, being sweet and gentle, making sure that you're taking care of everything in advance so that person feels comfortable and safe.
Yeah. We just recently did a 4-hour masterclass. We were talking about how to overcome emotional triggers. And one of the things that you have to learn how to do is how to untrigger your environment. Right. Because it's very difficult going to certain places because instantly it brings you back to that moment. We time travel every time we think about a past experience. We go right back to that place, and all of the emotions and the heartache that we experienced at that time begins to come up again. So untriggering your environment and creating new memories is a powerful thing you can do. If you weren't in that class, let us know. We would love to get that to you. It was really powerful.
Absolutely.
We have another question from MJ.
Hey,
morning.
MJ.
What do you do if you're out in a marriage with a man who you have to tell him what to do as far as opens for the future, fixing things in the house, mowing the lawn, etc.? Yeah. So you're basically saying, I'm always having to tell this man what he needs to do around this house, what his responsibilities, what his obligations are, whether they be tactical, practical things in the household, or whether it be relational things in terms of how to connect with you. The reality is we all have to be taught sometimes, but the frustration is having to continue to remind again and again and again and again. And so one of the things that we would encourage you to do is establish a regular work day in your marriage. What is a work? We talk about 2 days a week that you should spend with your spouse, a work day and a play day. The play day is like your date nights, recreational companionship, shared hobbies, stuff like that. But your work day is the day that you sit down with your partner and you talk about the responsibilities around the house. You talk about how to connect in an intimate way. You deal with the issues that have gone unresolved. That way he has full attention. You're taking notes. You're putting a plan together of how to live life in the future.
In addition to that, we can't miss out on saying that sometimes it's about how we're delivering, and sometimes it's just about who we are. There's this concept of being a superior wife, the superior wife syndrome, where you're just efficient at everything. And a lot of times for women, because of our upbringing and the fact that a lot of Black women in particular haven't had 2 parents in the home, you'll find that a woman is so superior at everything. The expectations are higher. And so when that's the case, and you kind of find yourself always giving directives, whether it was necessary or not, which we don't know, right? Sometimes we just want things to be the way we want things to be. And so what ends up happening is the other person feels like, well, I can never do it right. I'm not good enough. So I'm just going to sit back because I know if I try it, then it's not going to be right, or she's not going to like it. And it's going to be some complaints. And unfortunately, for a lot of women, we just are superior at a lot of things, tactical things around the house and stuff like that. And so your partner might be like, well, I'm just going to focus on my little thing, what I do well, and that's it. So we got to be mindful of what we are contributing to that situation.
Right. Help me, Lord. Yeah, well, you're going to need some help. But I will say, listen, That's true, because women in the household have so many hats that they're wearing, so many responsibilities. And you know what? Danielle does an amazing job around the house. I think honestly, for
Thank
a lot
you.
of you do, but I think honestly, for a lot of men, it's not that we don't know, we don't prioritize. Like when that light bulb needs to be changed, is it that we don't know how to change the light bulb? Is it like we don't know how to fix the thing that needs to be fixed? It's just that a lot of us don't prioritize it. Listen, I lead a group of 70 plus men, and we talk and have conversations every single day. Many are very tactical, and many are very handy.
Mhm.
Others aren't necessarily, but basic things. It's about prioritizing.
And
it.
what have I learned? Because Hassani, I grew up with 3 brothers, so I am handy. I can do almost anything. I used to be able to
Love you too,
change
Carlos.
my oil in my car and all that stuff. And Hassani just didn't come up doing that way. And I had to learn, because I would look at him like, oh my God, my brothers would do this, my brothers would do that. Could you go change this? Could you fix this? Could you build this? I learned that it's just as masculine to be able to pull your wallet out and make a phone call and get it done.
Hello. Because guess what? That was my upbringing, and that's what I do.
So I had to learn to dial back on that, on my tongue when it came to what I thought he should be doing. And a lot of times we could just be guilty of that.
I just changed these lights in
You
here.
did.
I did. I changed the lights. I fixed the sink because the sink was
Check
I fixed
one thing
the
off
sink.
the list.
I was in the back and I put something together.
He
So
sawed some stuff off a
listen,
tree yesterday.
I'm
I said,
telling
look
you,
at my man
I'm
up there working on the tree.
So you can do it too, brothers. Just get some tools. Have a relationship with somebody at Home Depot, with Lowe's. Figure out how to get some questions answered, and boom.
And the
start your
superior
projects.
wife syndrome is not a pedestal. See that? Let me clarify that. It's not we're better than men. No, it's that we have been forced and put in positions to have to do more. And then what we do is we have these high standards and we are unwilling to allow our partners to do things their way. And so what ends up happening is you crowd them out. And so now you're doing everything because you crowded them out. Okay, so it's not a point to be like, yes, I'm the superior wife. No, that's not what I'm saying.
And Unique said, thank God I'm not like that anymore, because you shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to be. There should be an equality in the relationship where you both take on roles and responsibilities and contribute to the household. So listen, we hope that you're learning something. Every single Friday, we want to begin to do this. We want to answer your question. So listen, we hope that you have an amazing 4th of July weekend. Spend some time with your family, with your loved ones, with your friends. Celebrate. Listen, even though it represents the day that we got our independence as a nation, what area in your life do you want to be free? Do you want to experience a level of independence? Maybe there's an addiction that you've been holding on to for a long time and you want to be free from it. Maybe there are issues in your relationship that you've been struggling with and you want to be free from it. Maybe there's some debt that you've been holding on to and you want to be free from it. Let tomorrow mark a moment in your life, the first day of the rest of your life, where you're declaring freedom and independence from the things that have held you back and have held you down.
I see a million saying, when are you having another retreat? Well, we've got the Audacity home edition coming up. It's coming up on July 8th, 9th, and 10th. It's a 3-day home retreat, so to speak. It's a 3-day home event. You can still register. However, the experience packets, the actual physical packets, we're done shipping those. So you'll get your experience packet via email. So if you want to register for that, you could go to couplesacademy.org/AOM_home_edition. Register today. We'll get you your stuff in the email. And we have a few other retreats coming up. So, get connected to us in that way. You'll be on our mailing list and we'll make sure that you know what's coming up.
Absolutely. Oh, one more question. I got to address it. We have 4 minutes ago. My wife called me and said that she had a flat tire. I told her I was on my way. She said, no need, I'm changing it. No damsel in distress here. I said, you go, girl. Listen, I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, guys, we love you. We appreciate you. I can totally relate to the superior wife syndrome.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a phenomenal book. Get the book.
Yes.
I don't know if they have it in audio, but I've read that book a few times over. And it just basically talks about how you have to release yourself from having to be responsible for everything. And have a shared responsibility in the household. Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. And so listen, get the book, have an engaging conversation with your spouse this weekend, and we will see you on Monday for another live. Talk to you.
Bye.